Good evening. I'm gonna wait a couple minutes before I get started, but see if anybody hops on. I think I'm gonna start in a minute. But I'm gonna start out and tell you how phenomenal my day has been. And I almost said it's been a phenomenal Monday, but I don't really even care what day it is. Today has been amazing. I've gotten to connect with some pretty phenomenal people, some people I love. Hi, Jenny. Um, I want to share with you, I was talking to a friend this evening, and we met last year. We're both going through some pretty major transformations in our life. And I had shared some really deeply, deeply intimate personal experiences about my life with her. And in speaking tonight, she told me that she comes back to my story often, and it serves as inspiration for her. And she's someone that I consider like a powerful woman I look up to. I think she is an amazing human being. And for her to tell me that she comes back to my story as a source of inspiration completely floored me, but it also honored me. And it brought me back to something I read this morning that I wanted to share with you quickly before I tell you something else. The question I started out with this morning was, when was the last time you listened to the stories of others? And he goes on to say that he discovered that taking part in another's dream or conflict or unresolved past was just a deeper way of listening, a deeper way of being present. The reward for such deep listening was the incredible honor of first witnessing a living model of human courage, then finding comfort and healing in the surprise that our stories really are the same. And I found that, like, when people are sharing with me, no matter how different our stories may sound on the surface, just by listening and being present in someone else's story, um, there's always some connection. There's something that gives rise to a part of me or part of my story that maybe I haven't given a voice to yet or hadn't even seen. So what I want to encourage you to do is share. Please just share your story. It's not insignificant. It does matter. And I know that I've held back in sharing some of my life, my experiences, because the story that I have in my head is that no one wants to hear it. And it's not for us to determine. Just share. It's not for us to determine how it impacts someone or the value that it brings to someone's life. And so don't hold back. And, you know, your story's a gift. And it's taken me a long time to really wrap that around my head with my own story. And I'm becoming more bold about sharing my experiences and my past because I don't know how it's going to impact someone else. So, and I'm one of those people that I always get like random strangers come up to me and will just tell me everything, like tell me the wildest, craziest stories about their life. And I love that people feel so comfortable sharing with me like that because I love to hear. I love to hear people's stories. And like I said, I always learn something about myself in the process. And this made me think of a story from, let me think. Well, I ran into an old colleague who's now a friend. And we were colleagues because I used to be a children's services caseworker. This is probably like almost 15, 16, 17 years ago. And I was her children's services caseworker, and she was a foster parent. And she had a lot of kids that were on my caseload in her home. So I'd be camped out there for probably an afternoon a few times a month. And we'd sit at the table and talk. And around this time in my life, I was going to Cancun probably, I don't know, I'd say maybe twice a month for several months. I was going there a lot. I was having fun and I was like partying. And now that I look back, it was probably maybe not very professional of me to be sharing these stories with one of the foster moms that I was working with. But she loved it, and we had this really great connection and this friendship that I didn't know that would develop into a friendship 15 years later when we not randomly, but we crossed paths. And so I tell her about all these exploits down in Mexico and our adventures down there and all the fun we had, which was probably wildly inappropriate for me to share at the time. But when we connected again this summer, she had just come back from a trip to Cancun, and she shared with me that she remembered me sharing those stories with her at the dinner table at the kitchen table. And I didn't really remember at that point that I had shared that stuff with her until she reminded me. But she thanked me for sharing that with her, and she told me that I had no idea what that meant to her to hear those stories back then, because I had no idea back then that this was going on with her. She was going through a really painful period in her life, and in her marriage was really unhappy, and she was living vicariously through my wildly inappropriate stories, and it gave her some life and some hope. And so we magically connected like 2 days after she had come back from her first trip to Cancun, and she wanted to share with me, so which was pretty amazing. So I guess my point in all of this is to share your story. You don't know how it's going to impact someone. That's not for us to choose. Don't discount your story or the value of what you are bringing to the world, because everything you've experienced is for a reason. So and in that same note, if you don't have anyone to reach out to and anyone to listen, please reach out to me. I love to listen. I love to connect with people in that way. And I don't even know how many hours I've spent on the phone today connecting with people and hearing their stories and what they want. And it's given me so much joy. So I just want to share with you my experiences today and encourage you to share. And please reach out to me if if you don't feel like there is someone you can share with, or if there's something you want to share that you don't feel comfortable telling someone in your life. So just want to encourage you to do that. And I think that's really important right now too, around the holidays, because I know this is a time of year where a lot of things come up for people that's really hard to process, or you're hanging with family that maybe you can't necessarily share with. So just reach out to someone, and I just want to let you know that you are loved. Thank you.